welcome back to episode 148 of Talkoffamepod podcast with your host, Kylie Montigney. On today's episode, we are joined by Susie Evans. She's a destination videographer. Thanks so much for joining, Susie. I'm super excited to chat with you today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much. So videography has been a passion of yours since an early age. Like, how did you find that passion exactly?
I think it just started out as a young kid. I was probably in middle school when I started making home videos with my parents' camcorders, and I would make my friends act in little films and skits and stuff like that. And I've always just loved entertainment in general. When I was a really little kid, I wanted to be an actress, but then as soon as I would get on stage, I would get horrible stage fright. So I kind of learned at an early age that I wasn't really meant to be like a performer, even though I always enjoyed it and I tried to do it for a long time. I just didn't have that natural, like I wasn't comfortable in front of a camera or on stage. And so I found my love for production behind the scenes. I worked in a theater in college, and I did a ton of like stage work behind the scenes. And then I worked in the TV studio in college, and it just kind of like evolved over the years from just enjoying entertainment and then realizing I can still be a part of it without having to be a performer.
Like since you like entertainment, like what do you have a favorite movie or show? Because I'm such a entertainment geek as well, so I'm kind of curious and seeing what is like your favorite movie or something entertainment.
Yeah, so my favorite show is definitely New Girl. I always joke for being like I was a film major in college, and I always joke I'm like for being a film major, like my taste in films and movies is not eloquent or advanced. Like I very much just love like comedies, rom-coms.
Mhm.
When I was growing up, I loved like Saturday Night Live, Mad TV. I loved anything that was like a skit, like improv shows. And Whose Line Is It Anyways? I loved anything that was just like off the cuff, funny humor. So yeah, I would say like I don't know that I don't watch a lot of TV or even movies as much these days. I like documentaries when I can fit them in, but I think I'm a sucker for a good comedy.
Like have you ever seen the TV show Friends?
Yeah, I love Friends.
Yeah, such a funny show. I was like, oh, she would tell me. I was like, that's probably a good show for you to watch and feel like comedy.
Yes, yeah, I love Friends. Like stuff like that where it's just like good, lighthearted, and relatable to real life.
Like Friends is just like one of my favorite shows ever. I literally was just watching it before I even hopped on to this interview. To be honest
Nice.
with you, it's always like a hilarious thing to watch, like when you need a laugh or something.
Love that. That's so good. I love that.
Like how like because I know like different videographers have a story to tell and stuff, like having different backgrounds and what they want to do. Like how do you like, use like your work in videography or anything like that to tell a story?
So I think I think in general, media is so powerful. When I was doing Miss Virginia, my platform was Media That Matters. So I would try to use social media with intention. I would try to create video projects with intention where I would interview people and talk to people that have interesting stories or are doing really positive things in the community. Um, so I think that video and storytelling obviously go hand in hand. So yeah, I think that for me, I like to do things where I sit down with somebody and ask them questions and get to know them and really give them a chance to speak about their experience. And then if I've got the ability, it's really cool to shoot like B-roll and footage of them doing what it is they're passionate about and then overlay that so it kind of fits in the pieces of the story that aren't verbally spoken.
Like I know like with different like would you like if you weren't like a videographer, would you ever consider like being a journalist or a podcast or any of those things? Because I know you
Yeah.
like to interview a bunch of people, like ask some questions. Like I'm the same talk like I'm the person that asks too many questions in every situation.
That's good. That's a good way to be. At least I think so. But yeah, I always thought journalism was so interesting. I thought I was going to do journalism for a long time. I even still think it's a possibility in my career. Like, always admired Vice News, and they have really cool shorts and video projects as well. So who knows? Maybe someday I'll be a journalist at Vice or somewhere else.
You definitely should. I kind of like see you as like a journalist type of
Ooh,
person.
Thank you. That
Was like the journalist thing like for Miss like USA, Miss Virginia, or was it just for like your personal project, like for the community?
It's usually for your community, but you can, I mean, that's the thing about Miss USA is you can use it for whatever you want. Like a lot of people go into it and they think, and I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, this will help me with my career. It's a huge platform for education. So I paid for my undergraduate degree. So there's like tons of opportunities and it just depends like what you want to use it for. So yeah, a lot of journalists do come out of Miss USA or Miss America.
And like when you're young, like you moved from Virginia Beach to small town Virginia, because I know you just moved to California recently, but like how did that kind of move kind of inspire your career path or basically like impact you in a way?
Yeah, I think coming from Virginia Beach, which still isn't a huge area, but it's definitely way bigger than the town I'm from, or like the town I mostly grew up in. But I loved Virginia Beach. It was very diverse. It's close to the ocean. There's a lot more, I would say, diverse culture in Virginia Beach. And so
Hmm.
when I was about 7 or 8, I moved to a small town still on the coast, so still close to the ocean, but really quiet. There was not a lot of diversity in my town. And I really only knew the world around me, which
Hmm.
wasn't the world, it was my community. It was people that looked like me, talked like me, thought like me. And so I felt like I was really unaware of the world. I didn't know it at the time, but I had this eagerness to experience the world and experience different cultures just because I felt like I just didn't know anything about anything outside my bubble. And so I was always really interested in people from different places and different cultures and communities. Um, but I think that that move and being then confined in a small town just inspired me to want to see the world more and learn people's stories more. So I think it ended up being a good thing for me because it sparked my interest and really like lit that fire in me to want to leave the town. Where if I'd grown up in Virginia Beach my whole life, maybe I would have been more comfortable and I would have been, oh, this is enough excitement for me. But instead, I was like in this little town and I was like, I just want to get out and see the world and experience everything.
Yeah, like actually like relate to that because like I have a bunch of family in Virginia. Like they live like a little bit after like a little bit outside of DC around that area. And like I'm from a small town, Pennsylvania. Like it's such a small town, it's very quiet, but everyone knows each other in
Mhm.
that sort of way. Like if it's a small town, but everyone knows each other in specific ways
Yeah.
since it's a very small town. But then
Right.
like as a kid, like I didn't really kind of see myself or even like kind of had a role model. Like I didn't kind of have a person that's like, oh, like this person's like, this person is literally me as an adult. But of course, I had people to look up to, like my parents, my grandparents, and all of that. But it's like, I really didn't see myself in that person. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like I didn't really see myself as a career path or anything like that when I was young, you know what I mean? Like it's just like it really does suck. You know what I mean? Of course we have family that we look up to so much, but then it's like I want to have someone that look up to that exactly like me in a way.
Yeah, for sure. That's so
Yeah.
important.
You know, like, do you like travel all over, or you just stay like in a specific place for videography? Because I know a lot of videographers always like to stay in like one place.
Yeah. So for most of my career in video, I've just been in Virginia, like a local vendor, doing weddings, and I would try to branch out and do creative projects as well. But last year I was able to kind of pivot and market myself doing destinations. So I'll travel to anywhere somebody is willing to pay my way. So that's like kind of the caveat with a destination videographer, photographer. You get a client and then if they're like okay my destination is Mexico, then they are required to pay my way and put me up in a hotel. So I'm willing to travel anywhere. That's like always the biggest question that people ask. They're like, oh, how far will you go? I'm like, I'll go anywhere, but it's like you got to find somebody that's willing to pay you to do that.
Like with like when did you move to California? Because I'm like, well, no, you just moved to California, right?
Yeah, like 3 days ago.
Oh, 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Oh wow, like why did you move to California? Like did you just move for like, more opportunities or just move there just basically yeah, like a bunch of people you know down there and stuff like that?
Mostly just opportunities. So I never, when I was really little, I used to think, oh, I want to live in California because it's nice weather, it's warm, it's beautiful, there's entertainment everywhere. And then when I became older, I was like, oh my gosh, heck no, I will not move to California. It's so expensive. Like,
Yeah.
I really remember thinking that it just like wouldn't be a good fit for me because I thought everybody was kind of superficial. I mean, that's just like the reputation it has. But this past year, I just was presented with so many opportunities, and it just felt like moving to California was the right move for me in my career. I mean, the truth is, like, this is the entertainment capital. And so I'm excited to just be here and put myself out there. I'm already connecting with artists and people that are creative and wanting to just like jump into creating things. So that's really what I'm hoping to do.
Yeah, awesome. Like I know for me, I always literally wanted to move to California for some reason. It's always kind of been my favorite place to move, like my favorite place ever, not just to move, but like a problem is like this is very expensive to live.
Yeah, so expensive. Oh, that's the worst part.
Yeah, but it's like the key to opportunities though, and more people in that way because it's such a big city that like you'll literally spot a lot of people that you watch on TV or and music down there. Like you can just look over and you just see someone.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And like I know you touched on this a little bit earlier, but you were Miss Virginia and competed in Miss USA 2020. Like how was being part of that challenge you had never before in both competitions?
It was really It was a great challenge. It was a tough year because 2020 was tough on everybody. We were pretty much in
Mhm.
lockdown. And so the process was way different than previous years. It was different than what we all dreamt it to be. It was like just not what we anticipated. But at the end of the day, it was a wonderful opportunity. I met such incredible women. Miss Washington USA, Imani, is one of my good friends, and she actually lives out here in California now. So we spent time together like 3 days ago. It's really a powerful experience because you're surrounded by women who are ambitious, successful. They are talented, funny, smart. Like the list goes on and on. And you're just surrounded by really, really, really strong, empowered women. And so you're put in this room with all these people, and it's like it's truly inspiring. And I think going through Miss USA in 2020 in itself was just a really tough year for me, like personally. I had a lot of family stuff going on. And so by the end of it, I just was like grateful to have had the experience. And it certainly challenged me in a way that I hadn't been challenged before, but it was mostly because I felt like I was really on my own. I only had myself to rely on, and I just had to, power through a really challenging experience and ended up walking away with some amazing new friends.
Like, was like everything virtual or was it like in person, like due to the pandemic? Because I know like everything like shut down due to pandemic and stuff like that.
Surprisingly, they were able to pull it off in person. It was at the end of the year. It was supposed to be in May, and then it got pushed to November because everyone just kept thinking, "Oh, 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks." But
Yeah.
then they decided on November, I believe, and then we had to show up in Memphis, Tennessee. So I actually drove from Virginia, which was like a 16-hour drive,
Hmm.
and yeah, ended up in Memphis, Tennessee, and then we had to quarantine in a hotel room. And then after the quarantine period, we had to stay in groups of 10 for COVID reasons. So it was like very regulated. That's why it wasn't really like the experience that I kind of dreamt of or imagined, but it was like a COVID version of it. But I am glad we were able to do it in person and rather than virtually.
Like, how did you like Memphis? Like, I always like wanted to go to Memphis and stuff. So I'm kind of curious. I'm like, how did you like it?
It's amazing. It's such a historic town. We were able to tour the Civil Rights Museum. So it was just a very powerful city. There's like so much history there. And I learned a lot while I was there too. I was really just impressed with the city. It's beautiful, it's diverse, it's interesting. There's like so much culture. Yeah, it was a great, great city. I would recommend it to anybody that wants to learn more about American history and culture.
Yeah, like Memphis is such like a big kind of like town or city, whatever you want to call it, for like kind of diverse or kind of like basically been basically off of like sex, basically like black, white, and all these things. It's basically good off of color and sex. It's like if you want to learn about those things, I think that's a city kind of for you to learn and stuff.
So true. Absolutely.
Like how like did you like go see Graceland while down there?
Yeah, we actually did see Graceland. I got to tour Elvis's home.
Ooh, how was that? Because I'm like the biggest Elvis fan to exist. I'm like I
Oh,
had to ask
really?
that.
Oh, that's so fun. Yeah, my little sister is too. Yeah, it was really interesting. It was kind of eerie, I would say. I'm sure you've seen the new Elvis movie.
Oh yeah, I've seen it a million times. I'm obsessed. I'm really
Yeah,
obsessed. Have you seen it?
yeah. I've seen half of it because it's so long. So I started it with my little sister, but then it got so late. But she had seen it like 16 times probably.
Yeah, I've
Um,
seen it a million times. Even with it being on HBO Max, I've seen like two
uh-huh.
or three times in theaters, a million times on TV.
Oh, yeah. So when we saw it in the movie, it looked very similar, but it was, I would say, smaller in person. Like it wasn't as glamorous, but like back then it probably was very glamorous. But today it gave me kind of like eerie vibes where it was a little bit like it was dated and it's like everything is left exactly how it was pretty
Mhm.
much. So that's why it kind of has like an eerie feeling to it. It was like very interesting. But it
And
was
like I just love how like Austin Butler even did the role himself. Like he all he moves. Like I know he sang like one or two songs or something. Like he literally mastered the voice, the moves, and everything perfectly. Like
so
if you
good.
literally put the actual clip of Elvis and Austin Butler side to side or up and down, it's literally the same exact thing.
It's so crazy. I love it.
Like, do you think like winning Miss Virginia like help you succeed in Miss USA, or is it like kind of like your own kind of like gut or your experience has kind of led you there?
Led me to Miss USA.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to win a state competition to attend Miss USA. So like each state has a state competition. So
Mhm.
I had to qualify to go to Miss USA. I had to win my state. And yeah, I think that I competed twice. So I think having the experience of competing the year earlier definitely helped me just kind of prepare and feel more comfortable on stage, and the interview process and all that stuff. And it gave me more time to practice and just like really become secure in who I am.
Like, did you do any smaller competitions like in your city, or was it just like, oh, I'm just going up to Miss Virginia, like kind of like the biggest competition in the state, mostly?
Yeah, so in Virginia, they don't have locals anymore. They used to have local competitions, but I think the pageant world is kind of getting smaller. So
Yeah.
they don't have local competitions anymore. I think maybe they have a couple, but I just enrolled what is called like at large. So you're like, you don't have a local director or sponsors or anything like that. Like you just enroll as yourself.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
That's crazy. Was that like new when you joined, or was it like kind of like a like not
So
new, like it's happened years before?
I competed when I was a teenager. I was 17 and they had some locals then. So when I was a teenager, I was Miss Fredericksburg Teen USA. And so then I had a director who guided me and like coached me and helped me get like make my way to Miss Virginia. And I don't know at what point it stopped happening, but it must have been a few years ago because I was Miss Virginia Teen like 12 years ago now. So at some point in the last 12 years, it stopped happening.
That's actually so interesting that like everything just kind of is like slowing down each year, especially during COVID, like everything is shut down.
Yeah, it's totally different now, which I think is good. I think it's changing and hopefully for the better.
Like, and I noticed like switching topics a bit. Like, are you a Disney fan, by the way? Like, I do like Disney movies and stuff like that.
I do now, but I wasn't always, not until I worked there.
Yeah, you're a Disney princess for Tokyo as an international performer. Like, how did that come about? Like, how did you kind of end up doing kind of that position?
So it was totally random, but like I had mentioned earlier, I always loved production and theater and stuff like that. And in college, I started out as a double major in film and musical theater, but then I had a really bad experience my freshman year where I got terrible stage fright and I forgot like all my lines for a monologue in front of my whole class. And I was like so embarrassed. And I hate to admit it, but I quit after that. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I've tried for years. I'm not meant to be a performer. I'm not meant to be on stage. I just don't have what it takes. But I would not secretly, but I took private voice lessons through my college just for like extra. I would have to take like extra credits. Like every semester I would have 21 credits because I would film my classes with like fun stuff like voice lessons or acting. And I auditioned for like the one act plays, which are way smaller than the big stage shows and stuff. So I always like kept performing for fun, but I didn't really like doing it in front of people. And then right after college, I'd only graduated with a film degree and I was working a random job over the summer and somebody came up to me and was like, you should be a Disney princess. Like they literally approached me. It was a random person. She didn't work for Disney or anything. And she told me to look up this thing online, like disneyauditions.com. And so I went home and did it. And I found that Tokyo Disneyland was hiring for their cast for the next year. And I was feeling very stuck. I was pretty broke. I was a waitress. I was working jobs off Craigslist. I was a production assistant. I was just like living the starving artist lifestyle. And I think that I hadn't like had the pressure before. Like I always did theater and performance for fun. And I never like, or I thought it was for fun, but I would put all this pressure on myself. And I was like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I get too scared, or I have stage fright or whatever. And I'd always put so much pressure on myself. And then I was in this situation after school where I was like, I wasn't unhappy, but I was like, I don't want to live my life like this. Like I want to have an adventurous life. And I'm a waitress right now and I'm a production assistant and I just felt like so stuck. And I was like, okay, there's this audition in New York City. And I was like, you know what? I have nothing to lose because I'm not a performer. My life doesn't depend on this. Like it's no big deal. So I could just show up and nobody knows me and I'm just going to like give it my best shot. And then like, if I don't get it, who cares? Because I didn't know anything about it yesterday. So it was like I think it was like a week away. And so a week later, I rode the Chinatown bus from Newport News, Virginia to Chinatown, New York City. And yeah, I walked into the audition and I just kept making it through the rounds somehow. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. Every round that they would cut like tons of people. And I was like, oh my gosh, how am I making it through each round? And I was a horrible dancer. Like I was great at improv. I was great at the acting, giving the lines and stuff like that. But I mean, I wouldn't say great, but like I nailed that stuff compared to the dance. The dance I was like so bad at, but I had made a friend who was a dancer in the audition and he was really helpful. So I just kept making it through the rounds. And then I got to the very end. And then 2 weeks later, I had a contract from Tokyo Disney.
Ooh, like how long, like how much rounds were there? Were there like a lot of rounds, or was it kind of like a small amount of
It was
things?
probably like, so they had like over 500 people in the audition. And then at the end, there were 7 of us. Um, so I don't know how many rounds, but I know they probably had at least like 7 dance um numbers, or not numbers, like it was the same dance, but like 7 rounds of the dance. And then I'm trying to think. And then you would do like an improv one, and then they would do like it was just like constantly changing. Maybe I got put through like 5 or 6 different experiences that day, but it took like 7 hours.
Oh wow. Like did you like use any of those dances or improvs like during the tour, or like did you just like did that for the auditions and just kind of threw it out and never kind of thought about it again?
Yeah, we didn't ever touch that same dance ever again, but we learned different dances once we got hired.
Like did you like was it like a paid job, or was it kind of like dedicate your time type of thing?
Oh no, it was a paid job. Like they flew us all to Tokyo. They gave us all apartments and we had a salary.
Ooh, that's amazing. Like how long was that for? Was it a couple months, couple years? Like how long did it like it was it like long for?
It was originally 14 months, and then I auditioned to stay a second year, and I was chosen to stay on. And so it ended up being a little bit over 2 years.
Ooh, that's not a long time. Like, would you ever do it again, like in today's world, or you wouldn't?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had an incredible experience. I love Japan. I love Tokyo. I mean, it was so cool being in Asia. I traveled like all over the country and then to a few different countries as well. And then it was a great way to save money. So when I came back to the States, I was able to go backpacking through Europe afterwards. It was a great experience. I would do it again for sure. And I would recommend anybody that wants to be a performer to go perform with Disney abroad because it's incredible.
Did you ever been to like Tokyo or around those states before? Like, I know, like, I heard, like, I never been, but I heard it's like pretty cool to go there.
Yeah, it's incredible. I had never been to Asia before, so everything was new. It was a completely different culture, but I loved it. I was so different from Japanese culture. I'm so like free spirited and do my own thing. I'm on my own pace, and Japan can be very strict and very, very respectful. And I 100% want to respect other people's countries and cultures. And I feel like when I go somewhere new, I feel like I'm an ambassador for America. And I think a lot of times we have a bad reputation. So I always want to leave a positive impact, like wherever I go as an American. And so I really embraced their culture. And to be honest, I think it made me a better person. I think it gave me structure and it forced me to understand and respect people's time better. I think that it changed me for the better in so many ways.
Like, what was like your favorite part about that experience? Like through like the 2 years you've been doing basically like improv and that like and stuff like that. Like, what was like your favorite experience traveling and meeting people from different
Mhm.
countries, not just the United States? Is obviously like different countries are similar and different from the United States because the United States is such a big country that like all you know is the United States, especially if you lived in the United States your whole life.
Yeah. Oh, it was I think that was the best part was meeting people from all over. And even our cast at Disney, we were from all over, people from Portugal, France, England, Australia, New Zealand, South America, the United States, obviously different parts of the States. Like there was so much different mixed into our cast. And then obviously being in Japan, I think the probably like my favorite experience was when I think it was Osaka. I went to Osaka and it was like maybe a month into living there. And so I didn't speak Japanese. I was just like very new to Japanese culture. And I was like trying to find a shrine on my map. And I was walking through the streets of Osaka by myself and a couple, like an older couple, probably 80 or 90 years old. They looked really, really old to me. And I was like obviously lost. And they come up to me and they're speaking Japanese. And I'm like, oh my gosh, sumimasen, ego onegaishimasu. Like I was like, oh, I only speak English. I'm so sorry. And they were like looking at my map and they were like, okay, come with us, come with us. And I was like, okay. So I start walking with them. And then they ended up taking like an hour out of their day and they walked me to this shrine and they walked me through the shrine and they explained to me the different things and they didn't speak English very well but they were trying very hard and they were using a translator on their phone but they literally took an hour out of their day to like show me something in their hometown and they just did it from the kindness of their heart and that kind of thing happens a lot in Japan. Like Japanese people are so wonderful and helpful and respectful, um and they want to be like good ambassadors of their country, and I think that was something that so early on inspired me to also want to be a good ambassador for my country. So I would say that was probably one of my most impactful experiences when I was there.
That sounds like so sweet. Is that like when you like older people don't even know like your language, like Japanese and English are so like different. Like they're different languages and it's hard to like understand. But then like when people like come up to you like that are much older, like kind of like your grandparents' ages or whatever, great grandparents, it's honestly kind of the best feeling that like they kind of take you under the wing, even though they don't know you or they never
Yeah.
met you. They're just like, oh, come with me, like. I'll
Mhm.
take you like wherever you need to go, even though I don't understand you. Like that's honestly the sweetest thing.
It was so cool. Yeah, it was definitely a very eye-opening experience.
And the last thing I have for you is what is some advice for like videographers?
I would say the biggest piece of advice is just to get out there and make stuff. I think, I mean, I studied film in college and then I would take my camera out occasionally, but like I didn't make films or anything for years. I didn't make projects for a long time. I would take pictures and I would occasionally take a video here and there, but I think I thought I had to work for a big corporation or a production company. And I think that I had this idea of what it was going to be like to be a videographer. And that was obviously like 10 years ago no, 8 years ago when I finished college. So I remember just thinking that you had to like have permission from somebody to start creating, but you don't. Like if you have a camera or if you have an iPhone even or a droid or whatever, like you can start creating films now. And I wish I would have done that. That's like the biggest piece of advice I would give myself is that you can create today. You don't have to have permission from anybody or have somebody else's idea. You can literally come up with an idea, film something and put it out there. And like the sooner you start doing that, the sooner you'll start to have success and get better.
Like that's like honestly something I wish I did when I was a kid. Like when I was young, is that like I wish I wasn't as shy or even kind of didn't stop opportunities and like say no opportunities. You know what I mean? Like obviously I'm 16 years old now and people are like, oh my God, like you're doing amazing things at your age. But then like you should like I wish I even started when I was really young. You know what I mean? It's just like I'd rather get out of my comfort zone and actually do something rather than be in a group background, you know?
Totally. Well, it's awesome what you're doing already at 16. So I think you have amazing things ahead of you. I wish I was doing things like this at 16, but the beauty in all of it is that it's never too late to start whatever it is you want to do. So if you have a passion or a dream, just go for it.
For sure. And like the last I wanted to ask you, where did you go to college for videography? Like those like film and stuff like that.
I went to a school called Lindenwood University. It was a small school in Missouri.
Oh, really? How'd you like that?
I loved it. It was amazing. They had everybody there was pretty much on the scholarship of some kind because nobody would go to that college if they didn't. I mean, maybe now, but at the time it was a really small school. So they would bring people in on scholarship. And so I met people from all over the world. We had Olympians from like Egypt, Peru, Ecuador. We had like this like Southeast Asian ping pong champion go to our school. Like we had people on scholarship for the most interesting things. And I think that's why I just like developed this huge passion for travel and experiencing other cultures was because there was a major international population on my campus. So I think that it shaped me in a really, really interesting way.
Even for me, like it's just like I'm like at 16 years old, I'm literally the biggest travel person you'll probably ever meet in your life. Like any opportunity I'll get to travel, whether it's like the States in the US or go to a different country or something, or go for a day trip to like a city or something, I'll definitely take it. Like I'm mostly
Good for
like a
you.
person that's really open to anything that involves like travel or flying or just like different experiences.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great way to be.
And I want to thank you so much for basically taking the time to come on the podcast. I love chatting with you. I really appreciate you taking the time and everything. Like, where can people follow you on social media if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, so you can follow me at Susie was like on TikTok or Susie C. Evans on Instagram. You can go to my blog, susiewasLike.com, or on YouTube, Susie was like.
Awesome. Everyone go connect with her and huge thank you for coming on. I really appreciate
Yeah.
it. And
Thank you
well,
for
I
having.
love chatting with you.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much.
Of course, we'll definitely connect again soon. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bye.